Happy 2016. Happy to be back in the office and to be with the team. We've had a couple of folks that have been out of the office with the illness that seems to be going around, and hoping the best for everyone to get back into full health. It's been a couple weeks since I've done my weekly shout out. The holidays and other events just really meant had a little discontinuous time here in the office, and so hoping to catch up with all the great things that have been happening. First, I'm just going to start off with what happened this past week at the council meeting. We had to report our local hazard mitigation plan. Julie Cox and Chief Olson presented some really cool findings on what we're doing to minimize our risk to our citizens, and that was really well received. That was on the heels of our presentation of just all the outstanding work that's happening at every level of the organization to prepare for El Nino. I think this past week's rain gave us the first glimpse of what we can expect to see in terms of precipitation, and everyone from utilities, IT, finance, public works, community development, administration, everyone has really stepped up to do what they can, and I think it's really preparing us to be ready when the big rains start to come. And everyone should expect that that's going to be the case. Over the past couple meetings, you've heard me talk about your responsibility as an emergency service worker, and to that extent, we're going to be following up with you about whether you've taken the appropriate and required training. Speaking of emergency training, we are going to be doing some training with fiscal analysts and fiscal officers about how we can be prepared in terms of procurement, timekeeping, record keeping, administration of claims against the city when and should a disaster strike. But just getting back to the city council meeting from this week, we also had a really great report by Public Works in coordination with the traffic safety team, who includes people from the police department, some really measurable improvements in terms of what we've done to reduce vehicle accidents and injuries on our roadway. If you have a chance to read the report, this is the kind of work that really models what we want to see here, I think, at the city in terms of having clear objectives, having clear actions that we're going to take, and then measuring those and looking at the outcomes to make sure that we're allocating our resources to their highest and best use. Beyond that, some other noteworthy changes for the finance team is that Kyle Rowland and the whole Public Works team continue to do a great job in the LOVR overpass. They are ahead of schedule and under budget. Can't ask for more than that. They did go to council with some changes for allocating some funding from contingency. And the purpose of that is really to allow for some paving management and maintenance on Calle Joaquin and some other improvements, and that's pretty exciting to see that really all come along. Switching gears to what will be happening at the next City Council meeting on the 19th. We've got a study session of the Pomo parking garage, which is pretty significant, and there is certainly a role for finance and IT to play in terms of our fund analysis and potential financing options that the parking team is looking at. We have some introductions of some two new key city employees. We have our new city clerk, Tracy McGinley, who comes to us down in Ojai. And then we have the badging ceremony of Deanna Cantrell, our new police chief. Both exciting new hires, and we're really glad to welcome them to be part of the city team. Later that night, we have a few consent items which are noteworthy. Some changes to the Chinatown purchase and sale agreement, and we have some purchases that are being made relative to utilities and public works. And then the big item that night is a land use item that is an appeal of a single-family home, and CDD and the rest of the team has been doing a really good job of trying to manage a lot of complex legal issues combined with some pretty strong emotions by both the applicant and the community about the impact. And ultimately, this is going to be an interesting discussion by the council that's going to be bound by both law and policy and the application of facts to that foundation. Moving forward to the second, I won't go into great detail on what's on consent, but we do have our presentation of the CAFR to City Council, and Vilma did a great job of putting together a draft staff report that's going to be docketed on Monday. I'll save my kudos for Vilma in just a moment about the tremendous amount of work that she did in putting the CAFR together. And then the big item on the 16th of February is we have the mid-year budget review, which has been Zena and Shelley doing a great job of putting together not only our progress on mid-year goals, but where we stand financially. And we're updating the 5-year forecast based upon what we've seen in terms of revenue growth and what we think is going to happen with expenditures related to some of the agreements we've reached with labor groups and what we think is going to happen with CalPERS into the future. A few big shout outs, and I want to thank Lynn and Lori in particular for their tremendous amount of work and the complicated payroll that they've had to manage, combined with the American Care Act. They've had to manage COLAs, they've had to manage new reporting requirements to give people information about medical costs for tax purposes. They've had PA changes. They've had a lot of different complex things happen in payroll that have really meant that they've had to keep their pencils really, really sharp. And I can't say enough for how appreciative I am for them doing just an outstanding job. Zena has been, has got her sea legs pretty quick here. 2 months on the job, and she's already doing a great job informing and working on the mid-year staff report and the document. And Michelle has been assisting her with that effort. Getting to the CAFR, we did post the CAFR on December 29th, and this was after a lot of hard work by Vilma and the rest of the team pulling together a lot of financial information. Lisa and Lynn and everyone working on reconciliation, and then in turn Vilma taking the lead and working with our auditors on preparing the CAFR, the single audit, and the federal transit audit as well. We got that posted on the 29th, sent out the award, and huge appreciation to Vilma, and we got great feedback from the auditors that we continue to do a really good job. There was a couple management points that were made. One had to do with how we are booking revenue, particularly CDD revenue, and I think Zena and Vilma have already got their hands on that, and they're working closely with Corey Ryan to come up with a clear solution about how to book over realized revenues. And then there was an issue of stale checks and making sure that we have a practice in place to make sure that we are canceling stale checks that stay on the books, and that's going to be something I'll be talking to Barbara, Tracy, and Vilma about. One of the items I want to talk a little bit is I transitioned from finance to overall the great things that's happening over in IT. I think we're all getting prepared for Michelle's departure. She's been just a really key part of the team. She's been, to some sense, a lot of the glue that's held the pieces together during this time of transition. She's a positive person that has a lot of promise here in the organization, and I'm really grateful for her service to the city and very excited for her in the new role that she'll take, that she'll have over utilities. She's been gracious with her time in terms of helping with the transition, and I understand, and I apologize I couldn't make it this week to the management meeting, but everyone really stepped forward with taking on a lot of Michelle's responsibilities until we find a new replacement. The EOP here closes soon. I understand we already have a few internal applicants, and I'm really excited to see that really start to happen. Michelle has promised not to be a stranger, and she will be available should we need her to kind of figure out things kind of moving forward. Moving over to the IT side, there's been a lot of things that have happened since the last shout out in mid-December. We helped complete a major move and transition of IT and other equipment over at 919 to help with the rental housing inspection program. We've done some great work on EnerGov, and we're now testing a lot of the data that's being migrated over. We continued our work on the police audio recording project. Don and Mary and David did a great job on storm maps, and then working with our police department and their investigation related to arson fires. And then we've now closed the job, and we have some interviews scheduled for our control systems operators to help out with our utilities partners. So some really neat stuff that's happening in IT. I was looking through a lot of the accomplishments this last year as we prepare for the State of the City that Katie will be delivering towards the end of January, and it was just really struck by the amount of capital improvement projects and IT projects and fleet acquisitions that we've done in just 6 months of this year. And I think that's really a testament for everyone really focused on some really high standards and high objectives, but working together as a team. Kind of looking forward, where are we at with GFOA and their recommendations? Their recommendations are due to us next Thursday. That's the 14th. Once we receive those recommendations, the transition team will be taking a look at those. That's Vilma and Greg Herman, myself, Chiefs Olson, and Steve Schmidt. As soon as we've gone through those, we'll release those to the rest of the team. And then towards the end of the month, I think it's the 27th, if I could recall correctly, GFOA is out here on site to present the draft recommendations to the team, and every one of you will have an opportunity to review those recommendations and make sure that they're going to be useful and helpful and have really focused in on the challenges that we have here in finance and IT. That being said, I'm really optimistic and hopeful about 2016. It has been a great few months working with some really talented folks. I have clearly a huge appreciation for all of the work that we do here, both on the IT and finance side. We're clearly a part of the nerve center and what keep the city operations going. And I talk about that everywhere I go, about how important our partnerships are with the departments. So looking forward to a little bit of sun today, and then I guess we have some more storms planned this weekend. So stay safe and dry, and looking forward to seeing everyone next week. Have a great weekend.